Welcome to the Toffee Blues, your source for all things Everton, and welcome to the match preview segment for Everton's next Premier League game, which is an away game at Wolves. And we're not really in a good place going into this one, really, are we, Terry? I think it's just I think we were saying this just before we started recording this, that the season's starting to peter out, isn't it? We've had two very forgettable results on the back of each other against Southampton and Tottenham before that. I think it's one of them. I think we're going into these games now just wanting the season to be over as quickly as possible. But how do you feel about this Wolves game, with the exception of the obvious apathy that seems to have set in now?
I mean, big picture-wise, I'm pretty comfortable. I know exactly where, I feel exactly the same as I did before the restart. What I'm realistic about what these games are and what what we're likely to see from some of the players that we've got and some of the options Carlo's got. This game in particular, I mean, Wolves had started quite well, hadn't they, since the restart, but I think they've tipped off a little bit. It's hard to tell because we haven't played very well since we came back, but we've been very strong defensively. So there's every, I'm just going to come out and say I think this has got draw written all over it. This game, both teams are sort of middling in their form. We've only lost one game, but our worst two performances were the last two games.
I think Wolves are in the same boat in that respect. They've lost the last two, but they won the 3 or 4 before that.
Yeah, but Wolves have got a lot more to play for. Obviously, they're right in the mix for the Europa League, which unfortunately we're not at this point. We're very much rank outsiders. Wolves are a good team. They've got some quality players, and the thing with Wolves is, compared to us, they not only know what they are, they're very well drilled, very well coached, and very well practiced in their system and their style of play. We're only just learning ours now under Ancelotti. Until Ancelotti, well, I take that back. It's not when Ancelotti got here. When Duncan Ferguson took over, we changed to a brand new system, a brand new formation. And obviously Carlos took that over and carries it on from there and added his own vision to it. That is going to be the formation we play under this manager. And it does suit our better players. It suits our two strikers. And I think it suits our defence as well in many ways, because the two banks of four, it's quite comfortable to defend in. But it really upsets the midfielders. So we obviously are a little bit having some growing pains with the formation.
That's an understatement.
And Wolves are the opposite. Wolves have played that for 2 years, 3 years now. So it's going to be a real tough game against Wolves.
Yeah, I do fear for our midfield coming up against the likes of a Moutinho and a Neves. I think we're not going to have a lot of the ball. I think it is going to be a case of another backs to the wall display, and it's going to be pretty depressing, I think, because they didn't really show much of a fight without the ball in the last 2 games, and I can't expect that to change all of a sudden in the next one. It's tough. I mean, I think you nailed it there when you said the change of systems upset the midfield. We've had all of our midfielders seem to be used to playing in a 4-2-3-1. Your Sigurdsson, Andre Gomes, they seem to know what their roles were in that formation, whereas neither of them have ever played these kinds of number 6, if you like, role. They're doing an absolutely shocking job of it, let's be honest.
Yeah, I mean, I said this on the final word for the Southampton game. I thought going into this restart, when we heard the injuries, Gbamin got injured, Delph's injured, I thought that these type of performances in midfield were going to be on the cards, because you're trying to pick 2 midfielders out of a 3 of Gomez, Davies and Sigurdsson. Now, Gomez is, widely considered to be our best centre midfielder. He's been dreadful since the restart, and it's probably part fitness. He got back after the injury. It was a big injury. His foot was facing the opposite way. You know what I mean? And he got back and then played a couple of games, probably all on adrenaline. Got back quicker than anyone expected. Then he had the break, which all players did. So I wasn't expecting Gomez to be on fire when he came back after the restart, and he hasn't been, to be fair.
But we expected him to be this bad.
No, of course it wasn't, because he is a good footballer, but I did expect some meek midfield performances, because alongside Gomez, there's also, Tom Davies, who, let's be honest, I think even his staunchest defenders are struggling at the minute to defend some of the performances he's been putting in since the restart, and then Sigurdsson, who hasn't got any defenders anymore. So it's tough, isn't it? I mean, if we had Gbamin fit and Delph fit, all right, we don't know. Gbamin's an unknown quantity, and Delph, he's been...
Is Delph.
He's been more missed than hit, hasn't he, since he's come in at all. But I think he'd be doing a better job in a defensive midfield role than any of the players who have been playing, because that's what he is. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the midfield's the issue, isn't it? Like, it's not a case of overhauling the whole squad, but the centre midfield is a problem. We've got the three least suitable of the 5 midfielders at the club to be playing in a pair. I think even if you had Delph and Gbamin, they're the only 2 who are fit, they'd probably do a better job than any of the combinations we've tried so far, because it is all about physicality and energy in centre midfield. And, Gomez is not himself. Sigurdsson, even when he was at...
I don't think there's such thing as energy.
Oh no, even when he was at his best, he's never been a centre midfielder, has he? And Tom Davies is Tom Davies. I don't even know how we got on this point. I've probably done a centre midfield / Andre Gomez rant on 2 segments now.
No, but it's the big elephant in the room, really, isn't it? It's the cause of pretty much all of our problems at the moment. I mean, I talk about players like even the more attacking players like Richarlison, Anthony Gordon, Bernard, sometimes being a bit reluctant to take players on. And then you see why, because it's a risk, obviously, when you take a player on and you might lose the ball. And when we lose the ball, we can't win it back.
No. It's the system.
How long does it take us to win possession back?
When the other team puts it out.
That's it. Literally, if it's a bad cross and Pickford catches it, or it goes behind, literally, because we can't tackle. Midfield cannot tackle.
I know, but it's the thing. The thing is, this season, in general, and doubly so since the restart. I know we've done this about 3 or 4 times now, but if you keep changing manager, it's always going to be the case. We need to stick with one. I think this is the right one to stick with.
Please tell me nobody's wanting Ancelotti sacked.
Oh, there's probably no one with half a brain anyway. There's people who...
There's not people already, come on.
Not sacked for the going, if Allardyce turns in these performances, even though Ancelotti's getting us most of these points, like with his tactics and tactical changes. But in any case, this season, and especially since the lockdown, is all about the new manager implementing his style, his system, and then building up from there. So we've got a better manager than we probably could have attracted any time prior to when he came in. He's got a set way of playing. He's always liked 4-4-2. I've read his book. It's not just something he's doing here. It's always been his formation. There's only 2 players he's ever changed his 4-4-2 and one was Zidane and one was Cristiano Ronaldo. So he's not changing it here, like for Tom Davies or Andre Gomez, let's be honest.
Well, I think he used his 4-4. It was like a narrow 4-4-2, wasn't it, at AC Milan?
Yeah, I think it was the diamond, I think, yeah.
Yeah, Kaká was the sort of spearhead of the diamond, wasn't he?
Yeah, but it's still a variation on a 4-4-2 with the 2 strikers, isn't it? But in any case, that's the system he's put in, and he's got, the whole. Once he came in, it was like, right, the rest of this season, do what you can with the league, do what you can with the players you've got, and then in the summer we'll have a look and we'll see where we need positions. We don't need a full squad overhaul. 2 or 3, good buys in key positions could unlock the rest of the squad. Look, Bruno Fernandes and Man United, they were terrible. Now, okay, they've got a higher sort of base level than we have at the minute, but one player took them from being knocking around 8th to could possibly finish 3rd. Whereas I think 2 or 3 players, if we sign who were the right fit, they could take us from where are we now, 11th, 12th, could take us into the top 6. It's just about finding the right players. We don't need to bin everyone, but we did buy for a different manager in a different formation. So some recruitment is going to be required, and recycling of players is going to be required, because all of a sudden you find the Sigurdssons, possibly the Iwobis, haven't got homes in this formation because there's nowhere that
Definitely
suits
not.
them.
I think the performances we've seen so far, and not just post-lockdown, I think since Ancelotti's arrived, you can tell that these kind of players aren't fit for purpose in a 4-4-2 formation. But you're saying we don't need many players to come in to maybe see a transformation. You could be fooled if you see the state of social media at the moment. There's been some serious knee-jerking going on, hasn't there, on particularly on Twitter since the game finished last night.
I can't blame anyone. I mean, I don't agree with it, but you see bad performances and you see playing badly. You are going to react strongly, but it's just it's frustrating as well, because you say to someone it's all about the summer and preparing for next season. They've heard that 3 or 4 times now, and it's not worked each time, but it is. I feel it's more true now than it ever was. Like, you've actually got a manager who's worth sticking with. We were saying that when it was, we'll get Koeman in and we'll get rid of the Martinez players and we'll get Silva in, and we need to move on from all these players that Koeman bought, and now we've got Ancelotti, we'll move on from these players Silva bought. It's not about moving on from the players Silva bought, it's using the ones who suit this new formation, like Calvert-Lewin, like Richarlison, and building around that. So a centre midfielder, the right one. 2 if you're not, thinking Aubameyang's going to come back, and then 1 or 2 others, and you're totally a different team. But that's we've gone madly off topic here, because this is not anything to do with the Wolves game, but I'm sure people don't mind.
Well, I think it's one of those. It's symptomatic of what I think we're all fearing going into these games, is that the Wolves midfield is far superior to ours, and it's going to overrun it. I think that's how we ended up getting onto this.
Well, I think it's like you said at the top of the segment. The games are so sort of meaningless almost at this point that you do sort of conversations naturally drift away from the match coming up to what's going to happen when we all finish. Because if we beat Wolves, we're still not in the Europa League. You know what I mean? If we lose to Wolves, we're still not anywhere near the relegation zone. It is very much a middle.
It's dead rubbers. Talking how many more games? 4 more games, and they're all dead rubbers. Let's be honest.
Yeah, at this point they are. It's all about just it's practice in the 4-4-2. Carlo's done quite well with he's made a better player of Michael Keane for the start. I just want to see. There's a couple of things I want to see out of the rest of this season now, and one is Anthony Gordon to carry on playing. Another is Calvert-Lewin to get another goal to get his confidence back going, and another is I know he hasn't been great, but I'd like to see Moise Keane play more and see if he can score.
I'd like to see a few more of the kids, to be honest, to get a bit of game time.
I think the only ones who we can bank on seeing are the ones we have seen. I think Gordon and Keane are going to be probably the only players who could be considered the young players who are going to come in. I've given up on seeing Beningame and Branthwaite and who have yet, other than injury, and that's fine. The time, some of them aren't going to be good enough, and the likes of Branthwaite, the time will come down the line.
But the fact is there ever a better time to give these people a go when we're talking 4 dead rubbers, no fans on the ground? It's surely the best opportunity we'll get to see what these players, whether they've got a place in the team.
Well, yeah, but it depends on your perspective. Roberto Martinez, after the game yesterday, said he wouldn't look at it like that. He doesn't think Ancelotti's looking at it like that. He wants to finish as strongly as possible. He's going, if Ancelotti can, he'll try and win the next 4 games and finish as high up the table as possible. I mean, just for the pride's sake. I mean, with Everton Football Club, you don't want to be finishing in the bottom half. Not even commenting on the teams who are in the top half. But there's 1 or 2 there who they're not a patch on Everton size wise, and they've had good seasons, and credit to them, not discrediting them, but we want to be at least giving ourselves that, like, no, we didn't finish in the bottom half, we didn't finish below Burnley, Sheffield United, if we can help it, even in a bad season.
It's one of those. We talk about maybe trying to maintain pride, but these players aren't playing with pride sometimes. How much worse could the kids do?
I've not seen a lot of Beningame. I've seen what most other people have seen when he came in a couple of years ago. I think he'd do a better job than any of the centre midfielders at the minute, just by having actual energy. But I'm not crying out for it, because if he's not in the manager's plans, he's not going to play him, and there's no point wishing for him to. It's
not about a long-term plan, though, is it? I don't think it's down to. Obviously, I don't think Beningame or any of the current midfielders we've been using are in the long-term vision for Ancelotti. But for short-term, for actually getting us over the line at the end of this season and maybe getting a few more points on the board, could Beningame be any worse than Davis, Sigurdsson and Gomez so far?
That'd be pretty bad, wouldn't he? But if say Beningame, say they're looking at moving Beningame on in the summer, they're not going to play him in a meaningless game because he might get injured and what have you. They're just, you got to just trust the manager. He looks at them every single day in training. He might look at Beningame in training and go, he's not a patch on Tom Davis, so why am I going to play him? You know what I mean? Like, it's frustrating because you want to see change. What you mean by play Beningame is probably
don't play Davis, Sigurdsson, or
half don't play, insert name one of the other three, and half I wish Gbamin was fit, because you just that's all it is. We're clearly missing a defensive midfielder, and our two defensive midfielders are injured, and one of them, hopefully the better one, has been injured for a long time, so he's got that sort of luster as well, that he could be, the longer he's out, the better he gets in people's heads. So he'll fix it, you know what I mean? Like, he could come in and he's worse than a lot of them, but that's it.
You've nailed it there, to be honest, mate. Gbamin could be god-awful. He could be even worse than any of the names we've just named, but because we haven't seen anything of him, he's the best defensive mid in the world.
If Richarlison was injured and Keane and Calvert-Lewin were terrible together, they weren't playing well at all, people would be crying out for Ellis Sims. And it's not because they think Ellis Sims is great. They probably haven't even seen him. But it's the fact that, well, we'll try something different. What they mean is we missed the first choice player and we wish we had him fit. And I think that's a little bit of that. It's just frustration. But
I think they've got a good point, though, at times. I think the whole insanity is doing the same thing and expecting different results.
Yeah. But this is the thing. If you're going to play your system, if that's your plan going forward, play the system and let the players get on with it. And then when you've got better players, the system, it'll work even better.
Yeah, I'm not knocking Carlo or the system. It's more maybe just see if Beningame maybe does a little bit of a better job in the system in terms of not leaving us so exposed in midfield. I saw a few little photographs of little snapshots of how exposed our midfield got at times in that game against Southampton, and I was just thinking, come on, there's got to be a bit of a brain in there. Come on.
That don't make Gomez as left back. Yeah, pretty bad that.
Yes.
Anyway, that's just another game, another match closer to the end, and then again, you won't be a sudden, everything's brilliant now in the summer, but at least there'll be some business, and Carlo will have some better tools to work with going into next season. But what I can say is, Carlo's not stupid. He's looking at these players, and he's not oblivious to who's letting them down and who isn't.
Yeah, I think that's I think the crucial thing, we're going to have to see who we can get rid of as well. Whether or not it impacts on the players who come in or whatever, but just who can we get rid of, because it tells me who Carlo's clearly not satisfied with, and hopefully it's the same ones that we're talking about here who we're not satisfied with, because some of them have made a mockery of the club both before and after Carlo came in, so it'd be good to see some of those players go, but unfortunately it's 4 more games of sucking up seeing them put on an Everton shirt, which is just an abomination in itself.
Yeah, Could be worse. Could support West Ham or Villa. Well, especially West Ham with David Moyes in charge.
Let's be fair. It could be better though. We could have Alex Nyarko in midfield.
I know. I feel like we have sometimes.
Honestly, it's like I don't know what it is. It's one thing after another, isn't it? I mean, just hopefully the Wolves game we can maybe. I'm not expecting anything, to be honest. I'm expecting more disappointment, and it feels like I'm proper. I said this to the viewers when I was doing my match reactions to the last couple of games. You're coming on here to watch me be really depressing and literally say nothing positive, but I'm not going to sugarcoat it because I can't see anything positive happening, given the way things have been the last couple of games. And I think I said, didn't I, before the lockdown finished, before the Premier League resumed, I was saying to you how much I feared Everton's players not being very well motivated and putting in disinterested performances. And the last two games have kind of hammered that home for me.
I don't even think against Southampton they were disinterested. I just think they were fucking shell-shocked by how much faster and more energetic they were. It wasn't that they didn't want to win. They were just shit. Like, Iwobi does care. He just can't do it. Like, Andre Gomez and Tom Davis are trying to play, but they're just a yard slower than everyone else they're coming up against in centre midfield. Tottenham, you are right. There was a massive amount of disinterest in that game, but it won't be tolerated, Carlo. You know what I mean? We've had weak managers at this club. You know, Silva was probably the worst of them. He, was a walkover. Carlo Ancelotti is, like Seamus Coleman said it himself, Carlo Ancelotti is not here to be mid-table. So if you are putting in mid-table performances, you're not long for the club.
Well, I think Seamus himself could do with stepping it up a bit there.
Well, I think he's been better defensively than he had been, but he's.
Oh no, he's not. He's been far from the worst, but again, he's still got a way to go.
Yeah, I know what you mean. What you're saying is, I only feel like Richarlison can get away with saying that. You know what I mean? Like, you have to be playing well to make comments.
No,
like that.
Literally, you need to be like leading the way. But I certainly, as a captain, I know that's why he's saying it, because he's the captain. But for me, he's not captain material.
Another conversation for another day. We'll save that.
That's certainly another one. It's like, is there any such thing as captain material in this squad? So again, another thing for maybe summer recruitment, and there's definitely, if we might not be able to make great shows about match previews and going into these games, but we'll certainly have some great content coming your way in the next few weeks about bringing in new players by the looks of it, because there's so many cans of worms we've opened in this show alone, it seems.
Look forward to it.
But yeah, that's it. I'm certainly looking forward to that more than I'm looking forward to the Wolves game. Going back onto that, obviously Wolves have lost the last two games, so the most pessimistic Everton fans out there certainly will be putting up the hard time for Everton meme now. Yeah. It's around that time, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
And to be fair, they're well in the right minds. We haven't played well. I don't expect us to play well, and they have got some very good players, Wolves as well, haven't they? We've got Jimenez, and oh my god, the idea of Traore picking the ball up deep and running at our midfielders is just like sent me.
Yeah, I just hope he comes on and plays on the left, because I think of any of our players, Coleman might have a better chance against them than Dean. Just because
Luca Dean is like he taught him a new one in the game at Goodison, which we actually won. But
bullied him, but I can't hold that against Dean because he bullied two players. He's absolutely yoked, isn't he? He's massive.
Oh yeah, no, he does that to pretty much everybody. But the idea that he does drop deep and pick the ball up in midfield and run, and I'm just thinking of Traore sprinting through that amount of space that Gomez left by playing left back, and I'm just not looking forward to seeing that.
Well, it'd be entertaining if nothing else.
Oh, be entertaining, but you're not the one who's going to be doing a match reaction afterwards.
True.
But yeah, I think there's not really much else to touch on apart from the fact that, I think they've got more motivation than us for starters, and obviously league position dictates that as well because they're still pushing for Europe. But there isn't really much else to discuss apart from the fact that our defence is quite good, and hopefully that's the only thing that can stop us being absolutely mullered in this game.
Yeah. I'm going to say board draw.
Board draw. I'm just not feeling too optimistic. I'll say we get beat 2-1. I don't think, especially in an away game, I think it'll be, unfortunately, another repeat of Spurs, except against the team who are actually in better form than Spurs.
I don't think it will be as bad as that again. We might lose, but I don't think we'll see another performance like that. I don't think the performance...
To be fair, compared to the Spurs result, actually, I've been optimistic. I said we'd score.
Yeah, true.
It says we'd actually get in the box and threaten the goal, so that's pretty optimistic as far as I'm concerned.
Well, at least the games are coming at you fast. There's not enough time to dwell on one before the next one's up, is there?
I know. I'd like it to be the Bournemouth game coming up this weekend, to be honest, and have the season done with, to be honest. I'm at that point of sheer apathy, and I mean, it happens to us Everton fans at certain points of every season, I think, certainly in the last few years. But none quite like this, particularly with us not having no one in the ground and stuff. I think it's just one of them. Get it out of the way and get it done now.
We had 3 months without it, mate. I'm not bored of it yet. I'm still happy it's here. In whatever fashion it takes. It could be better, but it could be a lot worse.
Yeah, it could be a lot worse. It couldn't be worse, I don't think. I was going to say...
You could support West Ham. And David Moyes today made a comment that he's reminded his defenders to not concede goals. Nice one. I feel sorry for West Ham fans.
Moyes.
The whole media were pushing for us to fucking fall on that sword.
Oh no! Well, what was it? Mark Hogden who said that Moyes would be a better option than Carlo Ancelotti.
Yeah, and then he said, well, at first he said Moyes is the best we could hope for. And then he said he doubled down on it when we got Ancelotti and said long term Moyes will be a better option than Ancelotti. It's like, really though? I'm telling you, if Ancelotti gets sacked even next season because it goes to shit, it would have took less time under David Moyes. We would probably be in the relegation battle if we had David Moyes, I think.
Absolutely. Still. Well, it's worth remembering at the time, I think Ancelotti and Moyes sort of took over within about a week of each other. We were 15th and West Ham were 16th. We're now 11th and West Ham are still 16th.
Yeah, but the points is a lot different. We're well over 10 points clear of the relegation zone.
That's the point. I mean, 11th's not great, but it's not 15th.
Yeah, they'd swap with us, put it that way.
But yeah, most certainly. Certainly wouldn't swap manager. I mean, can you imagine back in the days when Moyes was saying 6th or 7th is the best we could realistically do? Now he'd be saying something like 17th is the best we can realistically do.
Don't. Sorry I brought that up now. Just imagine it depresses me.
I mean, to be fair, just the fact that you brought up the fact that we haven't got Moyes in charge, that's actually given me a bit of a boost of optimism. So, well played for doing that. And we'll finish this on a rare high note, shall we? I think that's about as positive as this show's been, and we'll leave it at that. So there you go, guys. Let us know how you feel going into the Wolves game. You're a bit more optimistic than I am. I mean, I don't think it'd be difficult. But anyway, let us know your opinions. Drop us a comment, give this video a like, and also subscribe to the Toffee Blues YouTube channel. And until next time, thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you later.